Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, tired of muddling through your medical bills? We'll prescribe ways to eliminate unexpected expenses. Then, find out who's smiling now. Plus, we'll get a reading on helpful books that connect with those who have dementia. And how to avoid the annuity scam.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. Maybe you'd rather read the latest mystery novel than your health insurance policy. But if you don't understand your own plan, you could encounter unexpected expenses, and the answer to whodunit could be you. Just by turning the pages of your policy, you can avoid a surprise ending to your own medical story. Sue Tyler's here to help right a few wrongs when it comes to getting the most from your medical plan. Sue's Executive Vice President and Chief Experience Officer at Medical Mutual of Ohio. Thanks for joining us, Sue.
Thank you.
Sue, so your first recommendation, you've made a number for us, seems obvious, but a lot of people don't do it, and that's read the policy to demystify the coverage. Tell us some of the most important things to look for.
I think three things that come to mind. First is knowing whether it's important which doctors and hospitals you use in your plan. Most common plan today is a PPO, and they have a network of doctors and hospitals that you'll get the best benefit from if you go to them. Okay. Second thing is understanding what your contribution is going to be. Does your plan have co-pays? Are there deductibles? Is it subject to coinsurance? And then know what's covered. Are you covered if you go get a physical? Are there limits to how often you can get it, like once a year? And there's so many different kinds of plans, even within the same company. It's just really important to know yours.
So what if you're not sure, even after looking at the plan, you're not sure what's covered, what's not?
You know, my best advice would be to ask. You know, before you go to the provider, maybe while you're making the appointment, ask if they're in the health plans network. Ask if the service they're planning to perform is a covered service. And ask what your expected contribution is going to be.
You mentioned in-network, not in-network. What's the difference? Why is it important to be in-network?
For a health plan that has a network of providers, doctors, and hospitals, it's important for two reasons. First is you're going to get your best benefit. You're going to get the most paid if you use an in-network provider. And secondly, with an in-network provider, they have a contract with the health plan that'll prevent them from billing amounts in excess of the amount that they've agreed to.
So it's probably easiest for our viewers if you can give us an example, show us how this works.
Understand you need to know how your own plan works, but in a plan that would pay 100% if someone went to an in-network provider versus 70% for an out-of-network provider, I think, you know, both providers, if they charge $200, the first provider, if they're in-network and the plan pays 100%, it's covered in full. And you, as the member, won't be expected to pay anything. If you go to an out-of-network provider for the same service, they may bill the $200. The health plan pays 70% of the $100 or $70, and you don't just owe $30, you could owe $130 because there's no protection from them billing for the difference between the $70 and the $200.
Wow, so going out-of-network can cost people a whole lot more than they might think.
Could.
All right, another suggestion that you have is to make sure you get care at the right setting. What does that mean?
Absolutely. Probably the most obvious example is the emergency room, is not to go to the emergency room for something that's not an emergency, that could be handled in a doctor's office. And with the different kind of facilities that are cropping up now, sometimes it's confusing. You have emergency rooms, urgent cares, you have convenience clinics, and sometimes from the outside they look the same. So my suggestion would be know the ones in your local area, know what kind of facility they are, and know what your coverage is for the different kinds of facility. Because the last thing you want to do is wander into something you think is a clinic, find out it's an emergency room, and in a very extreme example, you might find out that you have no coverage.
And you were telling me a story off camera about how somebody actually went to something they thought was an urgent care.
And it turned out to be an emergency room. It was for a rather routine matter, And that individual got stuck with not just hundreds, but thousands of dollars of bills. And that's what we'd like to avoid.
And it can be avoided if they ask questions and read their policy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you.
Very good information. So you can avoid unexpected medical bills by understanding your health care policy. It'll make for a happy ending after all. My thanks to Sue Tyler for helping us crack the books on health care coverage.
Find out more about Medical Mutual of Ohio by visiting their website, www.medmutual.com. Next, turn that frown upside down. But first, don't you think it's kind of fishy that fish seem to go on swimmingly for years? You never see a grouper with graying gills or a flounder with flabby fins. So how do you reel in the correct answer to their aquatic ages? We'll school you on how to tip the scales in your favor when we return.
They haven't been inducted to a Hall of Fame. They don't get stopped for autographs or photos. They don't have entourages or shoe deals. But they still deserve our applause and admiration because they are fighters, believers, heroes. We are the Metro Health System. We are the proud sponsor of the comeback.
A fish's scales are the key to reading its age. The number of growth rings on each scale weighs in as 1 year. So find the sum of the seasonal colors, a dark ring for winter and a light ring for summer, and you've caught on to its age.
This weekend, we give thanks for the many blessings that bring a smile to our faces. But I bet you never thought about giving thanks for our smiles and the many dental developments that have been made treating our teeth that make them less taxing. Dentist Steve Marsh is here to itemize a few areas that deserve our oral appreciation.
Wow, that was a pretty interesting introduction.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.
You're welcome.
So, I don't like pain. Now you can do pain-free dentistry?
Well, dentistry can be done as long as the injections are delivered correctly. When I say injections, what's commonly known as a shot. Dentists can do it painlessly. My father taught me a lot of techniques, including topical anesthetics that numb the tissue. But if it's given slowly and gently, it works very well. What I think the viewers also need to know is there are different types of anesthetics. Commonly, we always say Novocaine, but there's one called Xylocaine. That's a general one that we use. It has epinephrine, and the reason it's important to your viewers is that epinephrine can actually raise blood pressure. So that's the standard one, but we can also use something called Policaine. Policaine is another anesthetic, and this anesthetic has no epinephrine. So what happens is when the dentist delivers it, the blood pressure doesn't rise. So it's important to let your dentist know that. And lastly, this is really fabulous. This is called Oraverse. Oraverse reverses Novocaine. So you come to the dentist, Armin.
So no drool.
You drool, and you have a meeting in the morning, or you want to go have your morning breakfast. After you're done, we can give you an injection of this, Oraverse, and it reverses the anesthetic. Within a half hour, you're ready to go again.
No limp lip.
No limp lip. Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
Good. All right. So lots of folks are extra cautious about X-rays. Let's talk about that for a minute. Can you explain why X-rays are not something we need to worry about?
Yeah, what happens now is in most offices, and it should be in almost every office, we use digital X-rays. I've actually brought the digital sensor here. The digital sensor reacts to the X-ray unit, and it gives an X-ray that shows up on a computer screen. There's no development and there's no film. And 18 of these, which constitutes a full set of X-rays, is the same as being in the sun for 2 to 5 minutes. And there's a patient in my office. We've taken the digital X-rays. You can see them on the computer screen. She doesn't have to wait for them to develop. They come up right away. And I'm actually able to explain to her what I see. We can expand those X-rays. So very little radiation, 90% less radiation with this. And of course, we're also not throwing away the lead and the cardboard, so it's environmentally friendly.
And speaking of technology and machines, good impression now with impressions.
Yes, and what we do now is we actually take digital X-rays. There's no goop in it anymore. I actually have a model that's made from that digital impression. I take an image of it in the mouth. We push a button, it goes wirelessly to a lab, and this is fabricated by a lab using the digital impression.
So you don't use that goopy thing that you put into somebody's mouth?
Almost never anymore, and it's an absolutely beautiful one. And there's a picture of it in my office, and that's the wand that we use. It's pretty big, but it actually takes a perfect impression. And now when we go to put a crown in, instead of it taking a half hour, we can usually do it in 5 minutes.
And materials have changed a lot.
Materials have changed. You know, we use almost no metal in my office at all, and in most offices we use a lot of porcelains. And when we do porcelains, we do a lot of crowns and veneers. No metal rim anymore. This is actually a porcelain veneer. You can see how thin it is, Armand.
It goes like right over the tooth.
Goes right over the tooth.
And we have some pictures, I think, that you can show us what you
thank you for bringing that up. And this is a patient of mine. She was a young girl. And you can see this was bonding that was done years ago to cover up some unsightly teeth. They had what's called hypocalcification that often follows kids who have had braces. And so her dentist put that on. She was referred to me to do porcelain veneers. I used a veneer just like I just showed you. We did some gum contouring. Speaking of new methods, we used a diode laser right in the office to raise and equalize the tissue, and then put porcelain veneers on, very thin, almost no tooth preparation.
Here's one more.
Same sort of thing. Again, without a lot of tooth preparation and just some reshaping of the teeth, we use this very thin porcelain like a contact lens to give her this beautiful smile, and one that she had always wanted, and was a golden opportunity viewer, as a matter of fact, who got introduced to it through you, Armand.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
So Steve has many, many patients who are thankful for the mouth makeovers that he's given them, and we're thankful that he shares their stories with us. If you'd be thankful for a new smile, give Steve a call. His number's up next.
See what Dr. Stephen Marsh can do for your smile by calling 440-461-1003 or visit www.clevelandsmiles.com. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. Who knew the business of buttons could be so interesting? Snap to it and attend Button Down Designs at the Independence Library this Wednesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. Come behold a bounty of beautiful buttons and bracelets from the 1840s to the 1940s, each with its own stylized history. To unbutton more information, call 216-447-0160 or visit www.cuyahoga-library.org.
High blood pressure is on the rise. Nearly 1/3 of Americans have it, even more in older individuals. And while medications and changes in diet and exercise works for many of us, there are nearly 6 million other Americans who just can't put the squeeze on their elevated pressure. Now there may be help and hope. The pressure is on Dr. Mark Dunlap to give us the lowdown on an exciting new treatment. Dr. Dunlap is the director of the heart failure section of the Heart and Vascular Center at Metro Health. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get to the new treatment, which I definitely want to talk about, remind us why it's so important to lower our high blood pressure.
Well, hypertension is a very common chronic condition in this country and around the world, particularly as people age. The majority of people who age have high blood pressure in this country. And those patients who have high blood pressure, especially when it's uncontrolled, are at significantly increased risk for things like stroke, heart attack, heart failure, as well as advanced kidney disease.
And some people are resistant to the medications that are out there.
We have very good medications for the vast majority of patients with high blood pressure. But the problem is, first of all, some patients aren't aware that they actually have hypertension because it's often a silent disease. They don't have symptoms. But then there are a significant number of patients who, despite treatment and despite lifestyle modifications, dietary exercise modifications, as well as medications, they were still unable to control their high blood pressure adequately.
And people who have blood pressure above, is it 160 over 90? Even with the medications, that's really worrisome.
So we define resistant hypertension, as you say, with a systolic or a top number of blood pressure of over 160 millimeters of mercury, and who are on at least 3 medications. And many of these medications, many of these patients are on significantly more, up to 5 or 6 medications, but that top number is still uncontrolled.
I want to get to this new treatment. So tell us about there's something really exciting out there that people won't know about, but I want them to know.
It really is. We hope that this may be a game changer, but I want to emphasize that it still is in clinical trials. It's not yet available in this country for the treatment of hypertension. It's a procedure called renal denervation. And this procedure involves a catheter that's placed in through the femoral artery, that's the artery in the groin, up to the artery of the kidneys, in which the nerves that run along the wall of that artery are deactivated with the use of a specially controlled current that goes to the wall of the artery and abolishes the activity in these nerves.
And this can bring down the blood pressure for people who haven't been able to bring it down through medication. At least that's what the study is all about. And the reason why this developed, we've known for actually decades that overactivity in these nerves called the sympathetic nerves is responsible for many patients being unable to be controlled on their hypertension. This is a one-time procedure. It's not over and over again.
Correct.
And you said that it's not available in this country. First of all, this is being used in other countries, if I'm correct.
It does have approval in the European Union, yes.
And the second is that people can participate here, right here in Cleveland, if they participate in the study that's going on at MetroHealth. Can you just tell us about that a bit?
The general criteria are the patients need to be between 18 years old and 80 years old. They need to have this resistant hypertension, so that top number above 160, and they have to be on at least 3 medications and taking those 3 medications at good doses. And if they are, they may very well be candidates for this study.
And there are still openings at MetroHealth for this study right now?
Yes.
So if our viewers are interested, they should give a call to the number that we're
Absolutely. At least for the next few months, we'll still be enrolling patients in this clinical trial.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Dunlap. Really very much appreciate that.
Very well.
All right, so if you have high blood pressure that's stubbornly refusing to go lower, this new treatment could literally be a lifesaver. It's exciting, and it's available right here in Northeast Ohio for free. For more information on the renal denervation trial, call MetroHealth at 216-778-7373. This is a call that could save your life. My thanks to Dr. Dunlap for his low pressure but forceful presentation.
For more information, call MetroHealth at 216-778-7800 or visit www.metrohealth.org. Next, chapter and verse on connecting with Alzheimer's patients. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello, I'm Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we are going to do a seated calf raise to work the calves in the lower half of our legs. This is a great exercise because it's going to help us keep our balance a little better. All right, we got our exercise bands. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Great. We're going to start with our feet out in front of us, our heels in the ground. We're going to grab the exercise band and place it around the front half of the foot between your arch and your toes. Let your arms hang naturally in front of you wherever the band will pull them. Start with your toes pointed towards the ceiling and then bury them into the ground. All the way up and all the way down. We want complete range of motion, so take it nice and slow. How does that feel, Armand?
I think my legs are too long.
Keep the band nice and tight, everybody. 12 to 15 repetitions 2 to 3 times a week. And now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
Here's a great story. When one woman couldn't find books that worked for dementia patients, she wrote some herself. Debbie Drapak is the author of several activity books for those with Alzheimer's and dementia, and she's here to tell the tale of how they work. Thanks for joining us, Debbie.
Thank you for having me.
Why didn't other books fit the bill when you looked for things for people with dementia?
I was working in activities as part of the care team for adults with Alzheimer's, and I found that the books that were available were just not working for them. I really wanted books that encouraged them to reminisce and connect with family members and caregivers who were sharing the books with them. So I decided, since I didn't think I could find what I thought might work, I would create them. And with the help of Matt Schneider, from the president of Shadowbox Press, we created a collection of 8 books.
And things you put into your books help caregivers and dementia patients connect with one another?
Yes.
How is that?
By having colorful, large photographs and also large print text, along with conversation starters, a story, and activities included in the books. The activities include sensory stimulation, creative expression, and physical movement.
Now, I have one book here called Seasons, and The pictures are beautiful, by the way, I have to tell you that.
Thank you.
Let's give us an example of how this book would help people.
Sure. With the colorful photographs of children enjoying activities during each of the seasons, the adult can relate. They can also, through the story, share some of their experiences of when they were a child. Also, with the conversation starters, we have closed-ended questions, yes or no, that would be great for people in the later stages of the disease.
And I have one picture here of a girl with a cute little girl, by the way, with a dandelion. What's this? Tell us about this one, for example.
This one is the person is talking about how she blew the dandelion seeds and she made a wish, and her wish was that she wanted to be with her grandmother forever.
And you won an award for this book.
Yes, we did. We won the Mature Media Award for this book, and we also included some activities in the book. So if you were reading about the fall season, you might want to visit an apple orchard or create a fall landscape.
And these kinds of suggestions are right in the book.
Yes, they are.
And you have ideas for a memory box for physical stimulation?
Yes, a memory box. If you were reading about summer and your loved one had been on a beach vacation, you would include in the box things like a seashell, a vial of sand, a map, or even a postcard.
What's a book like this cost people?
The cost is $19.95 plus shipping.
All right. Well, this is wonderful activity. So glad you undertook this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So here's another chapter to the story. November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month and National Family Caregivers Month. What better way to honor both these events than to spend time with a loved one with dementia in a way that reconnects you both? And these books can help. To find out more, including how to order them, use the information that's coming up next.
Learn more by calling Shadowbox Press at 1-888-796-6333 or log on to www.shadowboxpress.com. Next, don't get caught in an annuity scam.
I know the devastating effects that back pain can have not just on you, but your entire family. Instead of covering up your pain with drugs or surgery, we offer a procedure called non-surgical decompression. Decompression increases spinal disc space and it draws nutrients back into the disc. This allows healing to take place from the inside out. So if you're suffering with chronic pain, there is hope. I invite you to call our office to see if this proven treatment option can mean freedom from your pain.
Did you miss a phone number or website? Here's your second chance because we're going to list all that information again. Then we'll be back to acquaint you with the advantages and inconvenience of annuities. You might recall that we've talked about the pros and cons of annuities before, right here at our kitchen table. Annuities can be a very useful investment for some folks, but for many others, annuities can be a scam and a ripoff. You must be smart and protect yourself. And my very smart law partner, Mike Solomon's here to reveal a new scam based on an old problem. Good to see you, Mike.
Hi, Armin.
What are the advantages of annuities? Let's start there.
Well, annuities are insurance products. So what basically many people buy, if they buy a deferred annuity, they take a lump sum amount of money, they give it to the insurance company. Hopefully the insurance company invests it, makes them money. But even if not, sometimes many of these insurance companies will guarantee that you'll get your money back. But the big advantage of an annuity is the income tax, like an IRA, is deferred until you pull the profits out. So that's the advantage of an annuity, a deferred annuity especially.
And what's the problem?
The problem is that many times annuities are sold to older adults and they shouldn't be. There was a case in Minnesota where annuities were sold to hundreds of people. The average age was 75 years old. They had to keep the money locked in place for something between 10 and 14 years, excuse me. And they had most of the money tied up in the annuity. On average, it was 89%, and that's just outrageous. You just shouldn't do all that.
Why? What's wrong with that?
Well, number one, if you're tying your money up in an annuity and you can't pull it out without penalties, first of all, you may need that money. You may need it to pay, at any age, by the way. You may need it to pay house payments, health costs, or any expenses of life. So that's number one, you're tying up your money. Number two, as I mentioned, you're tying it up for a long period of time, and if you pull it out, you'll pay penalties. So that's a bad thing. And number three is that you're putting, in this situation, they were putting 89% of their money in one sort of investment. That's just not good sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
And the company that were pushing this got hit with big fines.
Yeah, about $7 million fines.
So what's prompted the aggressive sales of deferred annuities to people who in many cases shouldn't be buying them?
Well, one word, money. There's a lot of money to be made selling annuities. You can make commissions that are fairly significant, can average to as low as a few percentage points up to 2 or 3 or more percent. So that and the investment fees can be pretty significant with annuities.
So how do we protect ourselves? If the insurance agent has this great incentive to make money, how do we protect ourselves?
Well, you need to ask a lot of questions. You need to ask them, what are the commissions involved? What are the investment advisory fees? How long do you have to leave your money in there? What are the surrender charges? That's probably the most important thing to find out. If you pull your money out early, how much are the surrender charges? And then finally, you want to see what they do, what their investment record is.
Great. Mike, thank you for alerting us to these problems. All right, so annuities can be worthwhile investments for some people, but be sure to watch out for scams, especially if you or your parents are older and are being pressured to put most of your savings into annuities. Watch out. For more information, call the number that's next.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner & Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information or to schedule a speaker for your organization. Or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Thanks for joining us. On next week's show, already totaling your taxes for 2012, we'll take a look at the financial landscape. Then discover how art is this season's best decoration. Plus, how you can be confident your caregiver is not a criminal. Until then, please remember to make the most of your golden opportunities.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.